It's preparing.
Okay, I'm not seeing anything on the YouTube page yet.
You'll probably hear us talking too.
Hello, internet.
Yeah.
At least on that link, it's not happening. Let's hold on.
There we go. It's preparing.
Okay, I'm not seeing
anything
on the YouTube page yet.
I do.
I do hear us talking too.
Cool.
Hello, internet. We can get feedback here.
On that link, it's not happening.
You don't see it?
Yep.
Good. So we're all on.
It says waiting for Cosmos on my screen. So the live link is up, but we aren't transmitting is what's going on.
Oh, wait. Okay, is that what we're still? Cool.
We can get feedback here.
On that link, it's not happening. Michelle, where are you clicking that you're seeing the recording feedback?
I was clicking on the link for when it says live on YouTube. You can do view stream.
You get to see that, we don't. So it might make sense to terminate it.
On that link, it's not happening.
It is not right now. What I'm seeing is, well, I can point my camera.
Oh, I see it. I see.
Can you see that?
Okay, I see it. I know there's a different link.
All good?
I'll put on the other link on top.
So is everyone seeing us figuring out how to be live on?
Yeah.
How to do YouTube live through Zoom.
The other day, someone pointed out that the way you knew that Star Trek was science fiction was because teleconferencing always worked.
Okay, you talk about the Agoric account to retweet.
Say it again?
I think we want the Agoric account to retweet the link I posted on Telegram.
On Telegram? Oh.
Okay.
Where on Telegram did you put it?
So we're good on live though. And for the next IBC update, we'll have our stuff. At least
this will be fine.
We've got IBC down. YouTube live is another thing. Okay, so I think we're live. We've tweeted, and this is the first edition. So for people who are joining or will be watching, we've got Zaki from DevCon and Dean in SF. And we are doing the first chain reaction, which is basically the first IBC update for the community to let everyone know what IBC is, the progress is being made, and then keep this going hopefully over the next couple of weeks before the San Francisco DeFi hackathon. So in case you don't know Zaki and Dean, maybe Zaki, you can just give a quick introduction because we'll be sharing it on other channels too.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, I'm Zaki Manian. I'm the head of research at Tendermint, working on IBC and getting interchain connectivity out into the world.
And I'm Dean Tribble. I'm CEO at Agoric, and we're working with the Cosmos folk to design and build IBC and get it out into the world and build it use it as an underlying layer for building our smart contract platform above that.
Okay, so I think this is the first one, so we want to set the stage of like, what is IBC? So to both of you all, what is IBC? And maybe where was your vision for IBC independently?
I'll let Zaki start here.
Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about what is IBC to begin with. So the way I describe what IBC is I first start with the statement that all blockchains are interoperable. Blockchains are public databases. You can always read from one public database and write to another public database because of it. So all blockchains are inherently interoperable. All blockchains are also inherently interoperable because blockchains tend to be designed to make it pretty easy to prove to to generate proofs of the inclusion of transactions or state within the blockchain. So this enables what we call light clients, which were sort of defined in the original Satoshi white paper as a way that large users would be able to use a blockchain without everyone having to run a full node. But it turns out that if you have a good light client in your blockchain, you can actually run an on-chain light client in which each blockchain sort of watches each other's. Each blockchain can respect proofs of each other's chains. So what IBC is Tendermint sort of built one of the world's first, perhaps the world's first, what I call fast blockchain. It's a blockchain with fast consensus, fast finality, high throughput. And what we are building with IBC is a mechanism by which the many fast blockchains that are coming into existence in the wake of Tendermint, built with Tendermint, the Cosmos SDK, built with emerging platforms like Substrate, Libra, etc., can all exchange information with each other. But right now, the state of blockchain interoperability is that we have to write sort of a custom adapter between every blockchain, so that if you want one smart contract or program or module on one blockchain to communicate with another smart contract on another blockchain, you have to write a custom adapter between these two blockchains. And what IBC is a standard adapter. It's the standard connection port between two blockchains and the software that runs on those blockchains, allowing them to just to inform and introduce one blockchain to another and have it connect, and then be able to exchange messages without writing a whole bunch of complex, failure-prone adapter software. Essentially, we get to write it once, and then it will connect all the chains.
Yeah, and in some important sense, people were, for us, a lot of blockchains articulated themselves as kind of, we'll be the only blockchain, all things will be this blockchain, there will be only one winner, right? And that just doesn't seem real likely, both because lots of use cases have different requirements, but in the same way that, in a particular geography, there might be one obvious money you use, but the world has a lot more than one money that you use. And so for technical reasons, for social reasons, for political reasons, for decentralization reasons, it made a lot of sense to not expect there to be one blockchain. And so as people started to realize that, or some people had a vision that could see that, the internet was pretty awesome, and the world of island networks before the internet was not as good, and they could see they wanted to have something like the internet for blockchains. They were experimenting with various approaches and relays and to be able to have limited bridges. And so one of the ways I think of what is in the IBC design is there are a bunch of good ideas. Let's pick and pull together and abstract across some of the best ones so that we can use one solution for how to do relay with enough flexibility to cover the various scenarios so that we can raise the level at which people are building interoperability. So they got the low level interoperability the same way people had really thought hard about doing it, and now we can talk about using that to build fungible token transfers, non-fungible token transfers, interesting application things, or in our case distributed object messaging buses, or 10 more different things that we haven't thought of for how you would like to be able to interoperate over these different blockchains.
So basically, IBC is an adapter across multiple blockchains. Is that what you would say, summarizing it? Well?
Yeah, I mean, IBC is the protocol, and then a lot of the design work is the implementations or the implementation technique to be able to straightforwardly use that protocol between different blockchains. That's right.
Okay. So why did Agoric maybe get involved, and how, maybe both of you all could walk through the process of just how this came to be Cosmos, Agoric, IBC, Tendermint, and the soon, hopefully, release of IBC.
I'll start recently, and then Zaki can go back, and then we can fill in the pieces. So We have in Agoric a layered stack all the way up to, how do you write very high level smart contracts in a large scale distributed system where some of the machines in the system happen to be blockchains. Right, we've been doing smart contracts since before blockchain, and so blockchains are just kind of a new kind of machine that all of the smart contract technology that people had built and thought about and used for unicorns like eBay and PayPal's and Ubers and Lyfts and all that kind of stuff, you'd be able to reproduce it on a blockchain, where a blockchain is just a much higher integrity machine. And so we already were thinking about, okay, we know we need to be able to bridge the communication layer between these blockchains, and had been doing work about that and looking at what people had thought about, and knew that the Cosmos people were doing stuff that lined up well, both philosophically with this goal of we want lots and lots of these chains to be able to talk to each other, and technically with the approach they were taking and so forth. And so while we currently have, our initial protocol for being able to do that, it's clear we want something both more robust and more directly supported and easily supported on other chains. And so everything that we were doing, we wanted to be able to integrate with the stuff that Cosmos was building. So that's my half of that. Now let's go back farther in time to where Zaki and Cosmos were thinking.
Okay, so I've told the story many times, and I guess what is cool about IBC is that, in many ways, IBC is not my idea. It's not Jay and Ethan's idea. It's Dean and Mark and all of their collaborators' idea, and it's just a privilege that we get to work with them on it. What the history of this is so I've been talking about scalable blockchains with members of the community and this industry for almost 5 years now. And it used to be this like weird hobby that a couple people had. It used, I used to talk about it with Dominic over at Definity. I used to talk about this with Vitalik and Vlad over at Ethereum. I used to talk this with Jay and Ethan at Tendermint. And we were like, can we imagine a future where people actually want to use public blockchains? And can we imagine a future in which there's a demand for a scalable platform? And, how would such a thing work? And both Definity and the Ethereum folks were very much going down the path of what they called sharding. And sharding is all about this approach that has many of the same problems and challenges of IBC. You need a fast consensus mechanism. You need changing validator sets. You need the ability to send messages between blockchains. But sharding is about this additional challenge, which is you have to be able to create a situation. So there's this thing that can happen in a sharded blockchain where one of your blockchain shards becomes evil and gets taken over by an evil set of validators. And the evil set of validators breaks the rules of the blockchain and then sends messages based on those broken rules to the rest of the blockchain, to the other shards. And essentially this corruption mutation, the blockchain no longer following its own rules, spreads out into the entire blockchain. And there's literally nothing you can do except halting the entire system and stopping everything and rolling back to when before the evil validators took over the blockchain shard. And so an enormous amount of effort on the Ethereum 2.0 side, on the Definity side, on many other projects working on different sharding approaches has been, how do I make it so that this terrible thing that could happen just never happens? And I've always been really worried about it. It seemed like a huge systemic risk. So, when I was thinking about all of this, one of the things I do is like when I come in and want to learn about a space, I go back to the history of it, and I'm like, okay, who were the first people to work on it? And all of Mark and Dean's work that basically originated the idea of smart contracts from the 90s is out on the web at eWrites.org. And so I read all of this eWrite stuff, and I'm like, okay, so all of this stuff is pre-blockchain. It sort of makes a bunch of assumptions that don't work in a world of public blockchain computation. But there's a core set of ideas here that basically give you the ability to have blockchain to blockchain communication in a world where blockchain gets corrupted, if a blockchain is evil, if a blockchain makes a governance decision that is more difficult, you can reason about and analyze what has to make a governance decision that the rest of the world doesn't agree with. All of these other problems, you can reason about how that blockchain's like causality essentially from that blockchain out into the rest of the ecosystem, and it will be possible for users to make sense of what just happened, what went wrong, etc., rather than trying to take a giant system that the entire global economy is running on, halt the entire thing, and roll it back, which seems impossible to me. So this was like sort of the core insight behind Cosmos. So Jay and Ethan came to me with an earlier design for a thing they called Supertanker. I told them your Supertanker thing won't work because of evil validators. They accepted that, and I'm like, so here's this like website from the 90s that I think has some ideas that actually let us sort out this problem. And so we came back, and that was the origin of the idea of building Cosmos. And we had we knew all of those ideas could do general purpose interoperability, composable smart contracts, etc., but we didn't know how to port them to the world of blockchains and public computation. So the first version of the Cosmos white paper said we're just going to do token transfers because that was really simple and easy to do. And then maybe a year later, Zuko introduced me to Mark and Dean. And then we started talking, and then they decided to found Agoric, and then we were in a position after launch to actually bring them into this process. And now we get the version of IBC that should always have been, which is the general purpose, interoperable, composable IBC. And that's what we're starting to launch right now.
And I was about to say, it's cool when you guys talk about it, and we're talking about the updates and the story, but it's also like how exciting this is.
Oh yeah.
And how in not too long, this vision will become a reality thanks to like the past couple of months of work. And it kind of gives me chill bumps. And like, I think that's very exciting. So maybe just in the last couple of minutes, what's happened over the past couple of months with the different release candidates, what will be happening over the next couple of weeks, and what should people know as we start to work towards launching it?
So first I want to say something from the outside where we get to work with the Cosmos team, and in particular, Chris Goes doing the specification for IBC, and June doing the implementation. I mean, there's other people involved, on our side, at All in Bits, at ICF, etc. But those two guys are really heroes at this stuff. So there is we produced a version 1 proposed release candidate. We went through 4 rounds of release candidate with reviews, internal and with some outside folk, and now it's been handed off to security auditors to do a first round of security review on the specification. And at the same time, the implementers are hard at work making it work. So as Zaki mentioned earlier, just today, the implementation that's intended for being able to use a hackathon, and the first implementation of V1 actually succeeding, passed its first test of having 2 chains, with a client, make a connection, make a channel, send some messages, and see them actually get queued and observed and responded on 2 different chains. So so things are moving full speed ahead here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, today is a really exciting day to be doing this first chat with Dean. And the purpose of what we're going to try and do with these chats is sort of similar to how Jack and I did did a whole chat series that brought us from sort of the Cosmos testnets to the launch of the Cosmos Hub. We're going to do, Dean and I are going to talk through this whole process of getting from the IBC spec to IBC running on testnets and being built upon in hackathons, and projects starting to spin up around it, to eventually a governance proposal to the Cosmos Hub, to the launch of hopefully many Agoric chains that run the Agoric network, that run the Agoric smart contract system, and a massive, and like this world of IBC sort of starting to unfold.
So Zaki, what should maybe the Cosmos ecosystem anticipate? Like, now we have today's the launch. What's next? Maybe what are the next 2 items that we have to achieve in order to get to the governance proposal and also get to the DeFi hackathon IBC situation?
So, okay, so where we are is, it was like, Cosmos is this creation story over the last 3 years, where in order to have IBC, we first had to build the first Byzantine fault-tolerant consensus algorithm that could be deployed over the public internet. We had to build this framework for building blockchains with provable data. We had to now write the specification and implement it. Now we have a whole testing process, and we're going to be able to, stand up blockchains that are going to be able to start experimenting with connections with each other. We're going to be able to start implementing application layer protocols like token transfers and Agoric's ERTP on top of this, and then we're going to be able to onboard developers onto this experience. We're going to have a game of stakes environment so that people can learn about the protocol and the relayer system, and all of that can all start come into existence. And so, over the next couple of months, we are going to create the first ecosystem of interoperable blockchains.
So we will continue to try and do these sessions, but also if you have questions, put them in the chat, and then we'll address them. Zaki and Dean can address them in the next round. We'll also put probably a link to the newly released integration below. So thank you everyone for joining. And if you have suggestions or things you want to talk about, let us know. And we should probably do one next week with an update.
Great.
Okay.
Look forward to it. Thank you all for your attention.
Thanks.
Thanks.